Welcome to the Tech Unlock podcast, where we demystify emerging technologies and give you the keys to unlock your successful tech career. I'm your host, Grace McJones. Let's unlock the future together. Hello, everyone. This is Grace McJones. Welcome to another episode of the Tech Unlock podcast. Today, I am so excited for the guest I have on the show today. We're going to talk about the creator economy and also how you can be a founder in the creator economy. I feel like a lot of things have shifted from during the pandemic till now. And so having that creator mindset, not just when it comes to content, but when it comes to creating long term, whether that's a business or a startup. And that's what we're going to cover today. I have the pleasure of having Sandy Lin with me, and she's going to just talk about her entrepreneur journey. And let's jump right to it. Welcome to the show, Sandy. How are you?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited. Despite like the time zone different, but I'm still like wide right now.
I know, I appreciate because right now you're in Taiwan, right? And
I am.
it's like super late. So thanks for working with me. So something that really drew me to your content was how much you focused on helping I wouldn't say the average person, but anyone kind of like recreate either like trends, they were seeing or just breaking things down, which a lot of content creators don't really do, or if they do, it's like super fast and you have to like keep watching it. Talk to us a little bit about how you got started in creating content. And also for people who might be listening and like, okay, the creator economy, what is that? Let's just maybe back it up a little bit and kind of define that. How would you define the creator economy, and then next how you got into it?
So the creator economy, I feel like this word has been really used since 2020, but it has always been there, but it hasn't just been talked about as much. So I really define creator economy as anyone who are creating any type of article, content, substance online and making some sort of revenue from it or some sort of asset from it, and define it as that. And how I got into it was before getting into social media, I own a pet boutique shop, like a pet supply shop selling bandana, leashes, and things like that. And then I had to run a business account for Instagram. So that have always sparked my interest in social media. So when I stopped the shop, I was really intrigued on what my next journey is going to be on. And TikTok at that time was blowing up into pandemic. I wasn't going to go on Instagram because honestly, I was just scared shitless on that because all my friends and family on there. So TikTok was a really for me to go on there, share my journey as a young entrepreneur. So that's how I got involved, was in pandemic time of 2020.
For those who are, I would say like higher millennials and whatnot, like Instagram was our go-to of like, okay, like this is how we're gonna do things. But when TikTok came in the game, it's kind of like, hold up, what's happening? Like you could grow your account in like 24 hours or even like a couple of days. And I love that it wasn't, the social graph wasn't based on your family and friends. It was based on your interest. Like if I cared about skincare, show me the best things, and so I love that it kind of grew, even though it just started different trends. But to your point, so basically after you've had the prior experience kind of like in the business mindset, but then you shifted to creating content. Um, why did you start taking it seriously in a sense? And did you ever see yourself moving from a kind of creator into like creating a business?
Yeah, so interestingly, I've never really seen myself as a creator at first. I thought I would just like do something that I really enjoy on the internet, which is sharing information that I thought is interesting and I thought that people wouldn't know but should have known. But it wasn't until when someone referred me and asked me if I could like talk about their brands, which is sponsorship. I was like, what's like, that's interesting, you can make money like this. And that's when I started shifting myself from like the business gear where I was a pet supply shop owner and now a creator. So that was an interesting mindset to shift into. But because I have that business brain and the creator brain, it got my gear going again. How can I utilize this community that I built on already? And how do I turn that into something of a more of a long-term substance? And how could I leave a longer impact rather than just a 30-second videos on the internet?
I love that you're thinking that way because to your point, obviously there's value in short form content, but the long term, I think value comes in into creating something that has a deeper foundation, whether that's a course or maybe like going into YouTube and things like that. So basically, obviously, you were able to create some type of revenue and monetize what you're creating. How was the journey into saying, okay, well, I need to create something for people like me, hence career based in a sense. And what was that journey like? Because you and I've talked before, you didn't come from a technical background, right? And this is like a tech based company. So a lot of people who have ideas are like, I'm not a tech person. How can I even start thinking about creating a company? So walk us through your journey. What was that like? Were you like, okay, I'm going to start this company and boom, finding a co-founder and, hopefully it works out well. What was your strategy behind kind of working through this?
It was interesting because so I studied marketing in college, and I have never heard of venture capital, startup, product, anything like that. Anything of a tech, like I've never
Mhm.
heard of it in college until when I joined TikTok, which is my senior year of college, when I was able to get more opportunities since I have a following. So a lot of brands that are startups start approaching me. And at that time, creator economy was booming. People are starting creator economies to start up like left and right. And people are getting funded because at that time, cash is pretty much just you have a creator economy, let me throw cash at you. So there was a lot of creator economy startup at that time. They came to me asking for a creator perspective and how do they grow on TikTok? How could they capitalize on social media growth and all that? So I started working on with a lot of startup at that time and helping them with the strategies, even invested in some of them like Beacon.ai, Lumanu, Copy.ai. So got me thinking, all these businesses are started by Silicon Valley, really smart people that
Mhm.
had is an engineer, went to Stanford, and I love them. They're awesome people, but they're not creator, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, why don't I do something? I am a creator. I understand my own pain point. I know I speak with creators every single day. I know what's going on. So there is a huge pain point of brand partnership that need to be tapped into. And how could I do that? And that's when my gear started going when I thought start thinking about tech. I actually went into course creation first, creating a course, help like small business owner start launching on social, helping creator monetize more. But course isn't really scalable, right? I want really something that can leave a longer term impact and a lot things that are a lot scalable. So I started talking to a lot of my mentor, and that led to tech company, right? Something that can be scaled, that can be big enough to make a longer term impact in that. So in 2021, that's when I really start thinking, and 2022, in the beginning of 2022, that's when I solidify what I'm going to build.
I love that you mentioned the creative perspective. Like that's what people were literally hiring you for. I know a lot of people who want to create content or are creating content and don't know how to reach out to brands like, well, I don't have a huge following or I don't know what to offer, but it's like, no, you have a creative perspective. I know that a lot of us have probably seen videos by brands that are just cringe and like, oh my gosh, like who greenlighted that? Like, why did you do that? But if they were consulting someone who had a creative perspective or with their creator, then their message would have come across in a different way. And to your point, a lot of creators, a lot of people in general, don't have insight to how a company is made, like VC funding, what is all of that? And also, if you come from a um diverse, backgrounds, even like almost zero in a sense of like, even if you do have insights and things like that, it can be a very intimidating part to go on. And so what was that like for you, obviously, when you figured out like, okay, I want to create something, and you've learned from your mentors and they guided you into like, okay, you can do it in a sense, but how did you get over the insecurities or the inadequacies of what you didn't know? Because I feel like that's number one. People don't even start creating content because of that. But even moving from that to even saying, oh no, I can create a solution,
Yeah.
and people would want it. Like, how did you get over that mental hurdle?
Yeah, I don't think you ever fully get over it, especially in the startup world. I honestly think that everyone in the startup world doesn't know what they're doing. Like the even Series B CEO or anyone that you think that they know exactly what they're doing, they really just figuring it out by day. And once I know that, I was like, well, basically what I'm doing, right? But I think that date back to what you said about not knowing what a VC is and all that, I was scared shitless. So I grew up in Taiwan, and in Taiwan, isn't really any venture capital scenery here. Like no one really talk about that at all. So
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have that knowledge at all. But going into US, I was able to kind of get involved into something. And even when I angel invested in these company of creator economy company, I wasn't sure exactly what I was doing. I just know that I'm giving them money and maybe one day I'll get return on it. I got lucky on some of them. But I didn't know the landscape of things. So that really scared me a lot. So I really honed in on learning. I talked to everyone in my network that I could grab onto that has fundraised before or thinking about fundraising, and then ask them to refer me to more people in their network. And eventually I was able to get to a lot of people in the VC space and learn from them as well, just by talking to them. There's a lot of great resources right now. I'd say still the VC world is still pretty much gatekeep. I'm not gonna lie. I think there's people in VC that are trying to make it more accessible, going on to TikTok, a few of them. Twitter is Twitter. Twitter
Right.
is it's a space for great for connecting, but I don't necessarily think it's great for education. But because of that, you really need to utilize a lot of resource within your community. So I was able to do that by joining a accelerator program that's focused on BIPOC founder, and they actually scouted me because it's called Visible Hand VC. So their whole motto is to back BIPOC founders. I was able to join that, and that program really helped me understand how to get over the mental hurdle of starting your first company, and they providing you the resources of understanding all the way from actually coming up with an idea all the way to getting you funding. So that was a really great journey for me. So I think if anyone who is thinking about starting a startup, launching anything, first utilize your network, educate yourself, watch a YouTube video, watch any blog, anything. If you want to, you can. There's resources. You have to dig really deep. And then there is so many accelerated programs now out there that you can join as well.
Wow, you said so much. I feel like I need to take a step back to unpack, because one of the biggest things you mentioned, which I think is essential, especially in today's economy, and also for people of color in general, is the emphasis on community. It's hard to do anything on your own, because you don't know what you don't know. let's just be real. And so being able to be part of a community that empowers you in a sense to say, hey, you're not alone, like your ideas are valued, and here's how to do it. It goes a long way in terms of like that type of information, which is what I try to achieve through this podcast also. And so how did you go about kind of like validating the community? Is it more about like, okay, I'm going to put myself in a space where everyone here already knows what they're doing, and especially I'm thinking from the perspective of someone who might think, okay, I don't have the audience she has, like I don't have 200,000 followers on TikTok, on Instagram. I'm just a small creator, micro influencer. How do you go about searching for that community?
Yeah, there's so many ways, but you'll be surprised. A lot of people are so willing to connect and give back. And sometimes like I don't know where everyone background come from, but I know my background. It's that don't ask for a favor. It's not a good thing, right? So I was a little scared of asking for connections, but once you were able to get over that hurdle by making one or two connections per week, starting slow, getting over that hurdle first for yourself, you'll really find out that people are very willing to connect, even if you have nothing to offer, because they're going through that journey. But what I would do more tangibly is identify who is in your same level. Let's say if you're a creator who have 20K on following and want to start a tech company or just want to start a tech company in general, have no background, identify these people on LinkedIn or something like that, join a bunch of different company community on deck, or subscribe to people's newsletters, see if they have a community, find these people who is in the same level field, connect with 10 people, and then go on to the next level. So identify who is on the next level, who has already started their process of incorporations or starting to iterate their ideas, and connect with them. I always like to connect with people in my same level and then 2 steps ahead and then a few more steps ahead. So that way you can have the peers, but also have the mentor and the coaches.
Love that. Yeah. If you don't ask for connections or help, you're not going to get a help. So definitely taking that step is vital. And let's jump into more talking about the company that you co-founded. Who is it for and how does it work?
So Creator is for other creator built by creator like myself. So Creator help creator identify the right contact information for brand partnerships so creator can land more brand deals. So really come from my own pain point of not having a consistent income as a content creator. So basically I have my 90% of my income come from brand deals, but it can vary month from month, right? Some month you can have $1,000, the other months can be 30K. It is pretty wildly inconsistent. So on the low month, you need to make sure yourself are reaching out to brand, basically being your own salesperson. So I found myself on LinkedIn trying to find brands to connect with and the right contact who is running influencer marketing campaign, and how do I get their contact information, using Apollo to get their email, and then pitching them with emails, tracking all these pitches on Notions. So it worked. I know it worked, but it's very tedious and it took a long
It's a
time to
lot.
do
Yeah.
that. Yeah. So that's why Creobase came about. Yeah.
And so, how did you go about finding a technical founder? Because that's another point of like, okay, you have an idea, right? How do you either create an MVP, minimum viable product? And in terms of raising, also, I'm interested in hearing what your journey was like. But how did you go about kind of finding someone who you're creative and it's like they're technical? And I think that's the sweet spot of finding someone who you can mesh with because they can execute the ideas and things that you're seeing. What was that like for you finding someone like that?
Yeah, so it's a long journey. It took me about 5 months to find the person.
Wow.
Went through a lot of co-founder datings. Obviously, I started with my
Did you
own
say
network.
co-founder datings?
Datings,
That's a
yeah.
thing. Yeah, because
Yeah.
people don't know that. Like trying to find someone who actually wants to work. It's a partnership, right? It is. Yeah.
Marriage, yeah. If it works, if the startup works, it's gonna last for more than 10 years. Average marriage in US is 7 years, I've heard. So it's like more than a marriage. So I was
Right.
dating a lot of them, but I started with my own network, but I
Mhm.
couldn't find someone in my network because all my network is surprising. Everyone is either in marketing, content creations, or just other small business owners. So I have no engineer in my connections. So I try to branch out a little bit, but obviously I try to go on LinkedIn to find more people, co-outreaching. But then I come across On Deck. On Deck is a community, but they also have a co-founder matching tool type thing. It's basically Tinder for co-founders. and you go on it at the same time for 3 days, and you just swipe left and right. If you match, they match you up on Slack, you start talking. So that's where we met. We dated, but we worked together on
I
small
love this
projects.
analogy because it's hitting the nail right on the head.
Yes. But I was simultaneously dating like a couple of people as well. I was like talking to a lot of people, but it really honed me in because he's very agile. So he's really great in complementary skill set, very technical. Not only that, he's great in designing. Operation wise, he has some experience in that as well. He's a little bit older than I am, not much. That's exactly where I wanted to be. Someone who is a little bit ahead of me that can kind of teach me something, but also not super ahead, that cannot be agile enough. So he's really agile, which I love, and our personality just match up perfectly as well.
Yeah, no, I think that's a perfect analogy because it is a process. And you mentioned some green flags that you saw in your co-founder. What are some red flags that people should be aware of when, going through the dating process of finding a co-founder?
Yeah, I think there is no like specific red flag, but the thing that I look at is focus. I think building a startup, you need a very strong focus, and you don't want to be doing tons of things at the same time. So what I look for is that, but also, can you be flexible? Because
Mm.
pivoting, a startup is all about pivoting, right? So pivoting can be very uncomfortable. Are you flexible enough to go through that tough period of time as well? But having really great and understanding who yourself is and have a hard talk with yourself first before you finding a co-founder is something that a lot of people miss out on. A lot of people go out and just think that they need to find a perfect co-founder that has been a perfect resume from Apple, Google, or Microsoft, but you don't need that. Maybe you can find someone else as well. So understand who you are, what you need, who your personality is, and having a hard conversation during the dating phase is really important too.
Yeah, it kind of sounds almost the same as like be self-aware of like who you are and what you need.
Exactly. It's
That
exactly like dating.
Yeah, and it will transfer into kind of like making sure you're connected with the right person. And yeah, shout out to Undeck. They've definitely helped a lot of
Yeah.
founders. I was part of their ODP podcast fellowship, which is an amazing, just creating community and meeting all their amazing podcasters. And so talking about obviously dating for co-founders, finding the right investors is instrumental. It can be a like, how do I put this? I don't want to be dramatic, but it's a do or die situation, right? Like if you do have the right founders, I mean, right investors, it can be a great experience. But if you don't have the right investors or can't even find investors, it's hard to kind of launch a company. Obviously, you can bootstrap, and there are other ways. You don't have to go the VC route. But that is one of the ways people can raise capital to support building their company. So, what are some challenges that you faced? You've talked about also not being from the United States. That's a challenge. Being a person of color, that's another challenge. Being a woman, that's another challenge. I, read that less than 1.4% of funding goes to women, and that reduces when you talk about women of color. So there's all of those things are already stacked up
Mhm.
against you in a sense, in this male-dominated space, and then on top of it, it's tech, and we already know what that word looks like. So there's a lot of things obviously not there to help you kind of like move forward. But what was your experience in terms of like going through those challenges and saying like, hey, no, I'm determined, I'm gonna find the right investors, and how did you kind of like walk through that process?
Yeah, so we got extremely lucky with our fundraising. So we didn't raise a lot. We raised a very small amount of pre-CA or pre-CA, whatever you want to call it these days, through our accelerator. So Visible can basically give you 25K upfront. And by the end of the program, you'll be able to get up to 150K, depending on how much you need. And we got the additional funding from our accelerator program. So I think accelerator programs are a really great gateway for a lot of people who want to launch an idea and who need funding to get started as well. On top of that, like identifying the right accelerator program is really important. Understanding what is the model and all that. But in terms of preparing for fundraising, currently I am doing that right now. And it's definitely challenging. I'm not gonna lie, especially in this economy right now. A lot of things are not certain in the creator economy space. A lot of people are pulling back their fundings. So identifying who is your best match through your founder friends. That is where I found it the most useful. People talk in the VC world, but people also talk in the founders world. And people are able to give you who's the right investor, who is a great investor, who actually have the best interest and is able to roll up their sleeve and help you if you need to as well. So really utilizing my own network and being able to ask people, you really, at this point of fundraising, you need to stop saving face and just ask for favor. And that's something that I need to get over so much. Like when I was thinking about asking for people, I cringe all the time, but then I just stop, put that Sandy away and put up a face. I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna ask. Every time I got off of a Zoom meeting, I'll ask someone for a referral to someone in their network specifically that I know of. And that has helped a lot with introduction for sure.
I love that transparency because I do feel like sometimes as immigrant, there's this kind of like inferiority complex that we might have where like based on our culture, like we don't ask for anything. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh, but it's like, nah, that doesn't work. In
Yeah,
the business
no,
world, nah, you have
no,
to close mouths don't get fed. So you definitely, like we said before, have to voice your needs so that you are able to connect with the right people and fund your business. And so I love that you're able to kind of like change your mindset and perspective to make sure you definitely got what you needed. And also, I think asking for referrals from other folks after the call is very smart because then it's like they are extending their own network to you, and you don't have to go looking as much for other investors in this sense. And there's a stress built in this kind of line of communication and introduction. And so Careerbase is launching a public beta soon. Talk about that. Like, how can people get involved if they want to learn more?
Yeah, so right now we are in private beta. You can sign up to the waitlist on Creobase, but we're coming out of beta hopefully in May, end of May around that time. We'll be able to open for anyone who want to sign up. There's a free tiers, and there's also a $19 per month pay tier where you can get access to all the contact informations on the database right now. But yeah, so we're hoping to work fast and just launch and ship it and see what the response is, honestly.
Yeah, no, that's the best way to go because then you can keep on improving the product while you hear from your customers and things like that. And so, is this for a, seasoned creator? Is it for a specific type of like creator creating different content, creating a certain platform? What are the specifics in a sense, or is it more broad and open to everyone who wants to monetize from content creation?
So our platform is specialized in helping creators who want to become full-time creator or who has a full-time creator but doesn't have a talent management agency to help them manage things. They want to take hands in their own manners. And we're able to help a lot of creators on TikTok and Instagram. We're still trying to expand into YouTube, but not quite yet. So creator on our platform has been making more than $8,000 per month just by pitching to brands on our platform. So it's definitely working, but the caveat is that the creator also need to be willing to pitch, and we're trying to provide the right tool set, the guidance, and the education for them. But yeah, so we're definitely aiming for the middle segment of creators.
Awesome. And so kind of segueing into the future of the creator economy, there's obviously been a lot of talk about AI, and people are going crazy in terms of like using it to create content, pitch to people. How do you see that being um, kind of working together with either with what you're building or kind of like the future of the creator economy? Do you feel like a lot of content is going to be more automated, or it's going to be more humified? Like what are your thoughts on the future of content creation or creator economy, especially when it comes to AI?
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about this space. I think there's still a lot of improvement to be done, especially when it comes to content creation. But the backbone is great. Like you can come up with ideas and iterate from that. I am more excited about the editing aspect of things.
Mm,
Once the video is created, the editing could be faster. I mean, Adobe just launched something really great for their AI, and it's been helping a lot of creator editing a lot faster. But I definitely think it can be automated a little bit more. What I'm excited about is the language switch as well, being able to translate English from to different languages really fastly. So creator can actually target other countries' audience now, kind of like what
mm.
Mr. doing for his YouTube channel. But now once you upload that videos, you can just expand it you to other regions of the world by translating your content. But there's a lot to be done still. I think that creator can be afraid sometimes with all the changes coming up. But in terms of how fast you can be pumping up content, that's going to prevent a lot of creative burnout. And that happens to a lot of time. So yeah.
And so do you feel like there is a specific platform that people should be focused on, or more about like, hey, just try everything in a sense? Because I do feel like, to your point, like we talked about Twitter just a little bit, like it's there, but educational, I don't know. And then there's LinkedIn, and then there's TikTok. And so this is more for creators who are trying to figure out, okay, which platform should I kind of build on so that I can, eventually become a full-time creator, because I feel like trying to do everything at once leads to that
Mhm.
burnout that you talked about and might be counterintuitive. So what are your perspectives as someone who's like created on different platforms?
Um, that could be answered in twofold. So like I would say, what do you like, right? Do you like
Mm,
writing? Do you like video? Do you like long form or short form? Do you like pictures? If you like long form podcasts, YouTube is a great one. If you like writing, Substack and Twitter is a great one, and LinkedIn. But if you like short form, TikTok and Instagram, but on a more objective way of thinking as a whole, as a creator economy thing, I think that Instagram and YouTube is the safest bet. It's not going to go anywhere, and brands are still mainly focusing on these two. I know TikTok is a beast right now, but a lot of advertisement are still happening mostly on Instagram. A lot of Instagram creators are actually earning a lot more than TikTok creators. And the rise and fall of TikTok creators is still very unknown because they rise super fast. And when
mm.
things rise pretty fast, they also fall pretty fast. So that is interesting to see. But with YouTube, the cycle seems to be pretty sustainable, and on Instagram too as well. So if a safer bet and if you want more longevity success, YouTube and Instagram is better.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that that is actually a very good tip in terms of like looking at the past trends and seeing that YouTube has created so many long-term creators, whether that's, Mr. Beast or some other folks who have just been killing over the past few years. But thanks for sharing that. So, lastly, any tips for creators wanting to move into entrepreneurship? In a sense, if you could go back and talk to yourself in 2020 and say, like, hey, girl, in the future, we're going to run a business. What kind of tips would you give yourself?
I would say don't wait so long to be perfect, because you want to launch something and then
Mm,
see if it stick. I'd say move fast and move aggressive. If you have 10 ideas, try that 10 idea very, very fast and build it out very fast, ship it, and see what stick. And once you find the right one, go full force on it. But obviously you got to validate and make sure those ideas are from a pain point that you're solving as well. So yeah, that would be some of my idea, because I definitely think I wasted a little bit of time for sure. Yeah.
Got it. Awesome. Well, Sandy, thank you so much for being on the podcast and showcasing and sharing your career journey from a student to a content creator, and now moving into creating solutions for other creators, which I think it's going to empower a lot of people. As we know, there's, I think the market for content creation and the content economy and creator economy is about 100 and I think $5 billion in a sense, and that's only going to keep growing. And I'm sure like everything you've said on this podcast is going to help a lot of folks. If people want to stay connected to you and what you're creating, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
Yeah. So all my social is @ by Sandy Lin. So you can find me on there.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you.